Good morning. I was inspired today because I got nothing to do. I wanted to show some Tui Na. So a lot of people in the past have asked me to teach, to show what I know. I've been a practitioner of Chinese medicine for 15 years, and I have a top practice in Manhattan. And one of my favorite techniques that I use in the clinic is called Tui Na massage, Tui Na bodywork. It's part of Chinese medicine, and it's been part of traditional Chinese medicine for a very long time. It's sort of like the physical therapy aspect of Chinese medicine, along with Qigong. So today I'm going to go over a technique called rolling, and I have my beautiful assistant Maribel, also my partner. So I'm going to show you guys what I'm doing here. So I made a couple of notes. The first technique I'm going to talk about is called rolling. So rolling looks like this. Now, as you see, as I'm rolling here, I'm not losing contact with the body. And I'm making this motion almost like a cylinder or a tire. And what this does is it smooths out large areas of muscle on the back, okay? And it disinhibits fascial constraint, right? So we're not only talking about muscle, but we're actually talking about all the tissues under the body, including the fascia, including the bones, connective tissues, right? The technique is deep and it's rhythmic, and it penetrates to the deep levels of the body, okay? So one of the things that I think is really useful about Tui Na, and specifically this technique of rolling, is that it moves fluid through the fascial system, passes through points of restriction that fluids are actually blocked, right? So it's actually really a great technique to get rid of what we call dampness in the body, or to push dampness through the fascial system, right, and the muscle, right? It also moves blood, and it can actually lower blood pressure if you do it for a while, right? Because what you'll do is you'll get the blood out of the muscles and the veins and the arteries, right? So anyway, just I'm just gonna check my notes. You can do this on a massage table like we have here, or if you're on the floor and you have like a mat, you can come up and do it from here. Okay. Right. So one of the important things is achieving the proper depth when you're doing this. So in the beginning, this is actually one of the more difficult techniques to grasp of Chinese medicine. Of Tui Na. And in Tui Na, you want to make sure that your hand techniques are correct. So a couple of pointers with this is, as I'm using this rhythmic motion that's cylindrical through the body, one is I'm not coming up, right? I'm not coming off the body. I'm not doing this, right? Or even once I achieve my depth, I sink my weight, use my dantian, breathe into the lower belly, and I drive off of the legs to do this, right? One common mistake I see people make is they kind of flare their elbow. I can't even do it wrong these days, but they kind of flare their elbow out to do this stuff. Or you'll see also that they'll kind of like do this this jerky motion, right? This kind of thing. That's not the correct way to do it. Really what you want is you want to make the contact, like I said, set up your biomechanics, sink the weight, right? And then I think of it like I'm pushing toothpaste through the tube of toothpaste when it's just about to run out, right? So I'm actually putting that water and all that tissue in front of the rolling hand, and I'm moving it down the back and down the leg, right? So I'll check my notes one more time. Okay, good. Another thing I wanted to show was, one is your non-dominant side of rolling, which for me is my left hand. And so when I first learned the technique, I wasn't so much able to get my left hand to do this thing. It's still not as good, but it's getting there. After 15 years, I'm getting better at it with the other hand. So one thing that we always did was actually use the opposite hand to do the rolling, right? So this is passive, and this is the top hand is the active hand, right? So what you can do is you can again, you want to gather up the tissue, put all the tissue in front of the direction of the rolling, and then roll it out. Right? In meridian theory, this is the bladder channel, right? So the bladder channel is really an excellent place to do your rolling, especially because if somebody has back pain or they're suffering from anxiety or stress, right? Actually getting the chi moving down the body, the chi and blood, right? The direction of the bladder channel is downward the body. Okay, so again, we're gonna roll this out, and I can use my top hand, or I can set up my body mechanics and use the bottom hand. Right. Oh, another great place to roll that I tend to use a lot is the space between the shoulder blade and the spine. And what you get here is you get the rhomboid muscles in the direction, the fiber direction is going up this way, and then the trapezius muscles are going this direction. I think of the trapezius almost like a Christmas tree coming down, right? And so what I'll do is I'll take my rolling hand and just get in here. Right, being aware of the fiber directions of the rhomboid, of the trap, okay? And then an extension of this technique is what we call knuckle rolling. And so knuckle rolling is actually rolling the whole knuckles from each joint of the fingers over, right? So the way that looks is like this. I come in this way, and then I knuckle roll. And this feels great. Most people really enjoy this.
Yes.
And again, I'm not doing this kind of thing, right? Which may feel good. Sometimes I'll use 4 fingers to do that stuff, right? But with this, you're actually making contact with the deeper layers of tissue, and then using using these 1, 2, 3 joints to do it, right, of the hand. So again, very important are hand techniques in Chinese medicine. in Chinese Tui Na. Okay. Really great way to practice rolling if you don't have a partner. It actually makes things very, very fast if you're willing to put the work into it, okay? So I'll use a massage table, right? And remember what I said is I want to take the wrinkles out of the tissue, right? So the massage table, I'm kind of gathering up these wrinkles with my rolling hand. Right? So, you know, when you're rolling, you're actually using pronation and supination, right? So it's none of this wiggly stuff with the elbow, right? You know, it's not sliding, right? The idea is it feels like a rolling pin. Right? Can you see how I'm moving the material of the table in front of me? That's what pushes fluids through the body. Right? And then, another thing you can do on your own, this was really helpful to me when I was first learning this technique, is I'd use my own leg. Because one, you can feel what a real body feels like, and then two, you can understand what your own technique feels like, right? So what I'll do is I'll kind of angle myself off and then roll myself out. Right? Right. The other neat thing about rolling is it doesn't just have to be in the back. You can use it on many areas of the body. You can use it on the bicep, tricep. You can use it on the shoulders. You can use it on the gallbladder channel, on the IT band. You can use it on the hips. That's a really great area to do rolling, to spend time there. And yeah, it's really useful for therapy. So another important part of this is that you don't want to use a hard fist to do your rolling. You don't want to create tension in the muscles of the forearm that pronate and supinate, but you want to have a little integrity through the wrist, not floppy, but also not stiff. Right? So this is able to happen as you're moving through the tissue.
Show me the back of your hand.
Right? We're not going to use the knuckles. We're actually using the flat of the back of the hand to do this work. Right?